Okay, so we have Yatharth here from Gurgaon. Hi, good evening, everyone. Hi, Altaf, if I'm pronouncing your name right. We'll just start in few minutes. Let just other people join in. Let's start with 7:10. Cool with everyone? And जो लोग यहाँ पे नए आए हैं, first of all, again, welcome you all. And I'd like to know where you guys are from and what you actually do. You can use your mic, you can use the chat box. That's totally fine. Okay, we have Deepthi from Bangalore. Nice, welcome Deepthi. We have Yasin from Mumbai. Hi Yasin. Shrey Lucknow. Hi Shrey. We have Deepuni from Assam. Nice. Thank you Yasin. Okay, we have people from South too. Altaf is from Kerala. Pragya is from मेरी city तुम्हें बता दो from Jharkhand, right Pragya? If I'm not wrong. Divyansh. Okay, Lucknow. Nikhil from CU told me about. Okay, thank you, Divyansh. Thank you for joining. Yasid Degi from Aurangabad, Maharashtra. Nice. For the great figures, flying great Kasha. Thank you, Dipti. Bilaspur, Chhattisgarh. Oh, my bad. My bad. Pragya. So, yes, काफी diversity है आज की मीट में हमारे पास. And before starting, let me just tell you something. Okay, we have Neeraj from Bangalore. Okay. Hi Neeraj, welcome to the session. You didn't tell me. Okay, yeah, I didn't tell where I'm from. So I'm from Chandigarh, the city beautiful. That's known as. And yeah, and for today's event, I was telling you, right? So we'll be covering the fundamental of designs. So no matter in which field you are, maybe if you're a student, maybe you're a content writer, even maybe you're starting as a designer, right? Graphic designer, UI designer, thumbnail designer, any designer. These basic fundamentals will be used everywhere. So that's the main motive of this session. That all the learnings that you gain is useful for everyone, no matter in which field you are. So we are about 7 9. So I guess let's just start today's session. And so well, let me just turn on my camera. Am I visible? Yeah. Very good evening, everyone. Welcome to the session. I hope you're all fine. I hope you are doing great. And today's session is by Fueler. A shout out to the Fueler. And it will be regarding mastering the fundamentals of design. And by the way, I have my screen right over here. I guess I'm visible. I guess I'm properly audible, right? And I have my phone right over here. So if you are giving any reaction, if you're sending any messages, I'll be able to see that. No issues regarding that. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, great. So let the fun begin. So in today's session, there are only two rules, right? You have to interact. Okay, जितना मर्जी हो सके उतना interact करिए, no doubt. And second thing is have fun. That's all the two things that I want from you guys. And let's start the today's session and mastering the fundamentals of design. That's the main motive of today. But before starting, right, let me just tell you about the fueler actually. So, fueler is a very nice solution for everyone. I guess we have developers here, we have designers here, so you might have known as GitHub, might be knowing Dribble or maybe Behance, right? So, what they actually do is they provide a platform for developers, for designers to showcase their work, right? So, that's the major thing that these platforms do. But what about other people like marketers, like content writers, right? What about them? What if they have to show their portfolio? Do they only use Google Drive? No. So here here Fueler actually came. So Fueler is a platform which allows you to have your portfolio no matter in which field you are. So in short words, I can say it's a Dribble, it's a GitHub, or it's a Behance for a generalist. Fueler provides you a platform where you can show all of your work like this, and it's free to use. Just put out your work. You can use the images, you can use GIFs, add title, description, everything. And for your work, you can also put the link right over here. What is the best part that I like about them is, as you can see, I have many works, right? I have done work in graphic, I've done UI UX, I've done work in 3D, right? So if I want to share this portfolio to my client, so I can simply just create a custom portfolio. Means all of these from the all of my work, I can choose certain project that I want to share and create a custom portfolio, mini portfolio of that. Just like for all my 3D works, I have created one specific 3D portfolio, and I can just simply share this link with him so that I can share the specific project that is related to his or her need. Right. So this is the power of Fueler, and they are actually doing a very great work because we have Behance again. We have Behance for the designers, we have GitHub for the developers. But what about the other people, right? So no matter what field you are free to use Fueler. And if anyone can just share the link of Fueler, and you can check it out later. All right, so let's come back to the session and mastering the fundamental of design. But the first question arises is, what is design? What is the actual meaning of design? For every person, the meaning might be different. So I want to start with you guys. What do you think is the meaning of design from you? Anyone, you can raise your hands, right? You can choose the chat box. According to you, आपके लिए design का मतलब क्या है? Any guesses? Any random guesses? इसमें कोई right answer नहीं है. No, it's very subjective. हर person के अलग-अलग हो सकता है. Yeah. To represent the ideas or creativity. Very nice, Shrey. Very nice to represent the ideas and creativity. Right? Anyone else? Visual communication. Very nice. Visual communication. This is a way to express clients' view in a creative way. Very nice. Nice. Nice answers. Anyone else? Anyone else want to try about this? Okay, so let me tell you what actual design means according to me. So before that, okay. Let me tell you the content. We will talk about the typography or the fonts. We will talk about the hierarchy. What's hierarchy in design? What is white space? And also, I'll tell you certain secrets that designers have when they're designing. Right. So, what is actually design? But उसके लिए I'll tell you story. Story सबको पसंद है, right? So, do you want to hear a story? Just give a thumbs up to me. Okay. Good design brings out emotion in users. Yeah, nice. Very nice, Dipti. All right, so let me give you a story. So this is actually from a podcast of Christo. So if you don't know who Christo is, you should probably just search out his channel. It's a gold mine for every creative people. So the story goes like this. So the narrator of the story is in uh, art school. Basically, art school is just a university of design. So in the West, they have art schools. So it was his, I guess, SEM and yeah, it was his SEM and assignment. So they were all given certain assignment, and they were all, doing their hard work, and they have to show. The day when they were about to show, there was a one particular girl. Her artwork was, just amazing. हमेशा कभी ना कभी आप लोगों के साथ ऐसा हुआ कि you have seen an art and you can feel यार उस person ने मेहनत डाली है, बहुत मेहनत डाली है. Just give me a second. Yeah, sorry about that. So returning to the story. So her artwork was like amazing. कोई भी देखेगा he'll just like I can see the hard work she has put in. And everyone, every other classmate was appreciating. So the time comes, the teacher comes, and one by one, he was actually evaluating everyone's design. One person done a critique, gave the reviews. Okay, second, third, fourth, and then that girl came who created the marvelous art piece. What that teacher did is he took this her artwork, right, like this, had reviewed it, like, and in front of everyone, he tore it into two pieces. Yeah, he tore it into two pieces. Everyone was shocked. Yeah, why? It was the most marvelous. He has put the work in it. बढ़िया लग रहा है कोई मतलब ऐसे नहीं कि कुछ भी बना दिया. That girl was crying. Everyone was shocked. And then he told that it wasn't giving the right message that it should be. The thing that the artwork or the design should be communicating, it wasn't communicating that. And to be honest, it's a very important message to be learned. Now you may argue, Shashank, I think the way he did, right, it wasn't right. But I guess that was a very important lesson for her and for us too. Because right now it's just assignment, right? You just have to put on your time, your hard work, that's it. But when it comes to the real world, when you will be dealing with the clients, it will be your hard work, it will be your time, it will be your cost, and other opportunity that you left for that job, right? And the moment the client rejects you, you have lost everything. So now coming back to the question, what actually design is? So according to me, design is of two things. Number one is it's about communication, and number two is about psychology. I can see many people, wrote that design a way to express client view. Nice. It represents the idea and creativity, right? So it's actually communicating one idea to the whole mass. The idea of maybe the brand, maybe the personal brand, maybe the product. It's actually communicating that to the whole target audience. Design is just not random colors, random shapes, and just text thrown in the canvas. It's actually a way of communication. Why psychology? Because if you want to communicate, you have to understand how the your target audience actually thinks, how they behave. You have to understand psychology. According to me, these are the very crucial terms to understand what actual design is. And then there's also one thing, right? There's one design and there's one art. कहीं ना कहीं मे बी हम दोनों को लगे कि सेम है. Both includes creative thing. You have to draw something, you have to make something, paint something, but actually both are quite different, and it's very important to learn the difference of both of them. Let's just talk about art, right? We have seen the Mona Lisa's painting. It's an art, right? But what's the actual thing in art? So art is actually one way communication. जो भी उसको बना रहा है, वो the painter is, the creator is, he want to communicate something that he feels through Mona Lisa. Maybe the painter want to communicate something, maybe the beauty of Mona Lisa, like maybe something else. This art can have different forms, right? So it's just one way communication that the painter, that the sculptor, that the artist want to communicate with the other people. It's just one way. He's not into what other might be thinking about it. See, उससे उसको फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है. It's just he's expressing something. Second thing is art is open ended. Open ended means for different people the meaning could be different. For me, maybe a Mona Lisa is just a picture of a woman. Maybe to somebody it's something about woman empowerment. I don't know. ठीक है. तो हर किसी के लिए इसका meaning art again. And last में art is expressive. You are trying to say something that you feel actually. You are telling कि मुझे ये लगता है इसलिए I made that. Whereas there is something called design. Design is actually two-way communication. It's just not you telling something, it's actually you understanding them and then doing something for them. It's a two-way communication between you and your target audience, right? So you might say, yeah, Shashank, okay, ठीक है, but when had you actually communicated with the client? Sorry, with your target audience? For example, this PPT is a design for all of you, right? So it's a two-way communication. Now you might say, Shashank, this is the very first time we are communicating. We have never had a communication. So how you're actually telling that it's a two-way communication, because somewhere or the other I try to understand the psychology of you, of my target audience, and based on that, what you actually communicated or what the human being actually communicates, based on that I want to communicate my ideas too. So it's again, I have to take care about your needs, and then I have to communicate that through my design. Second, design is not open ended. You just can't, a design can have different meaning for every person, right? If this product is premium, for example, I have to make it premium for everyone, right? So it's not कि उसके लिए कुछ और meaning हो, उसके लिए कुछ और meaning हो. I have to make it very clear. Again, second, design includes psychology and biasness. You just don't have, we have कुछ भी बना रहे हो. You have to first understand the point of view of your target audience, the point of view of your user, whatever he or she may be, and then you have to design something. That's where it comes. It's a two-way conversation. And very much a good design is always solving a problem or making something easier. The last thing, very important. जो भी एक अच्छा डिजाइन होगा ना, उसका एक करेक्टरिस्टिक ये होगा, इट्स एक्चुअली सॉल्विंग अ प्रॉब्लम, जस्ट नॉट आउट देयर जस्ट टू to make other or make the things look good. Okay, that might be one of the problem, right? But it actually has a purpose. That design has a purpose. It's actually solving a problem, or the thing is already there. I'm just making it easier. And this design principles is applicable on every design field, no matter you're a graphic designer, you're a UI/UX designer, 3D designer, whatever. So that's the difference between art and design. Any question, any doubt till here? Anyone, just raise your hand, just use the chat box, I'll be answering. I guess no. So आगे बढ़े, just give me a thumbs up. Okay, so Devyansh is saying, okay, I believe let's just move forward. So कहीं ना कहीं I guess आपको art and design का मतलब पता चल गया. And you have to create a design which is actually a communication. You are communicating your or the client's idea to the audience, to the user, to the masses, right? It does not need to open ended. You have to make a very clear and cut, and then it's based on psychology, and it need to be solving a problem. Now let's come about the design. So design में आप क्या क्या देखते हैं? Let's just talk about this, right? This design right over here. इसमें क्या क्या देख सकता हूँ? I can see a shape, I can see colors, I can see text, and I can see images, right? And based on this, most of your designs are created. ये कहीं पे नहीं हो सकती है, but all more or less these are the basic elements of every design. And today we'll understand every design, that how each design element actually create a biasness, subconscious decision into your mind. The very first and very common thing is fonts or typography. People say typography too. So there are various types of fonts that you can see. Okay. For example, let's just talk about this. So this is actually called serif fonts. Serif fonts का मतलब क्या होता है? They have like these extra things. This is kind of tails, this is kind of ears. This extra extension on every letter that you see is called serif. And if you might be, thinking right, so these are usually seen on newspapers, right? किस किस को याद है कि इस तरह का font होता था newspaper में? Just use any emojis so that I know. So these are actually serif fonts, right? जिसमें tails, ears इस तरह से होता है. And these, when these actually used to showcase your professionalism, to showcase your authority, or give a corporate feeling in your design. So whenever you want to communicate these kind of feelings to the client, you should use serif fonts. So let's talk about again, the very basic example is your newspapers, right? So those actually use serif fonts. So why? Because they want to show the authority. Like, yeah, what we are telling you is the truth. What we are writing is right, right? So it shows the professionalism into your design. It shows the creativity, authority, and gives the corporate. So more of the corporate document that you might see, right? The legal document, the official document, they might have these serif fonts. Next, we have sans serif. If you see a very basic difference between both of them, is that These doesn't have those extra tails, extra ears, right? They're just plain. Plain, just that's it. So these are called sans serif. Sans means no, and serif were those extra ears. So they have no ears, no tails. They're just very plain. These are actually called sans serif fonts, and they actually tell a very modern approach and casual approach towards your design. If you want to show the modernism into your design, very casual, so you should use sans serif fonts. Cool. And very common example is Poppins, Montserrat, and Inter, evergreen font Inter. So these kind of fonts are usually used for showing these kind of feelings. Now, this any coder, you might be very familiar with these kind of fonts. So these are called slab serif fonts. Slab wide, they are kind of rectangular shapes, square kind of shapes. So it actually gives a very retro and tech kind of feeling. So if you have kind of hackathons, right, which have techie competitions, you can go with the slab serif fonts. So then you won't go with the serif fonts, right? Because you want to give that kind of feeling. If you are using serif fonts, फिर communication में कहीं ना कहीं gap हो जाएगा, right? That's why the slab serif font is used. Then we have script fonts. Script is basically a writing, the handwriting type होती है ना. So those kind of fonts are usually script. And whenever they are using such kind of fonts, it actually give a very friendly feeling, right? Informal feeling. Whenever you're writing with a pen or pencil, right? It's usually for your friends, right? Your family. So they give that very cozy kind of feeling. So कभी वैसी kind of feeling देनी हो, so you should go with the script fonts. Cool. And the last, we have display fonts. So display fonts are very variety of fonts. So कुछ भी stylish kind of fonts that you can see, they're actually a display font, just like this, right? They have cuts over here. So it's actually a display font. Like this font can give a kind of sci-fi, right? Kind of feel, a space kind of feel. Let's talk about this. This font is different. It kind of gives you a rugged feeling, right? Very rebellious feeling that it will give. So these are very creative and fancy looking fonts. So kahin bhi you want to go very creative with your idea, you can go with the display fonts. So these are very good options if you want to go very creative and with very specific themes. So these are basically five types of font. Serif fonts usually used in the corporate, this very authoritative professionalism. Second is sans serif. They're modern, casual. Most of the design that you might be looking today uses sans serif fonts. Then slab serif, they were techie and retro feel. Go for them. Script fonts going with a friendly feel, very casual feel, right? And then we have display font, display very fancy. Something that you see different from casual thing. That's usually a display font. Cool. So using such kind of font, you can communicate different kind of feeling, right? Like movie posters, yeah. I guess it was Jawan, movie poster of Jawan, and it was using sans serif font. I guess it was Champions God or something, right? So you can use such kind of. If you want to go very specific theme, go with the display fonts, right? They have very specific kind of like we had that avatar, right? So it used papyrus. We have a very papyrus font. It's very kind of thin kind of font. So yeah, you should go with the display if you want to go with a very creative. So this was about the fonts. How using a font can actually change the feeling of your design, the communication of your design. Moving on to the next thing, that is visual hierarchy. Let's just say, hierarchy. Yeah. So सबसे पहले ये आता है, फिर वो आता है, फिर it's a kind of order, right? So even if you are in corporate world, even if you college or school, so there might be a hierarchy. First, you have to report to your HOD, then maybe HOD to some higher department level, not department, is higher regional manager or something, then to executive, and then to CEO, right? So there is a hierarchy that you have to follow. Same goes with the design too. Why so? Because in design, there are many things happening at once. There are shapes, there are logos, there are text, there are even some CTS. So what is the actual flow of your user कि सबसे पहले मेरा यूजर ये पढ़ेगा, उसके बाद ये पढ़ेगा, उसके बाद ये पढ़ेगा. You have to make that flow, and you won't be right there to tell that okay bro, first read this point, then read this point, and then this point, right? So how you actually create that flow, you communicate that flow through your design is where visual hierarchy helps you out. And now we'll see how this visual hierarchy actually works. उसके लिए we'll do an exercise, right? Like this, there are three numbers, right? So there are three lines: line number three, line number two, line number one. Tell me which line did you actually read first? Was it two? Was it three? Was it one? Use the chat box. Pragya says three. All right. Divya says three. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? George says it's three. Right. So number three, you read it first. Although if you're talking about the position, line number one is on the top, then line number three, then line number two. So tell me after line number three, which line did you actually read? Was it line number one or line number two? After line number three, you might have gone to the line number two, and then at the very last, it was line number one. So you went through a flow, right? Yeah, three, two, one, right? So you went to a flow. Again, it was a hierarchy. Why did it happen? Because of this size. Because its size was very huge, it caught your attention at the first. That's why you went with the line number three, and then line number two, and then line number one. The basic principle that we learn from here is that if you want to give emphasis on any text, right, any element, you should increase its size. Or the most important thing should have the larger size. Yeah, the font size, right? Because of the font size was bigger, your attention got there. So this was one way. Now let's do the second exercise. Now tell me. So yeah, so it was due to the font size, right? Because of that, you create a hierarchy between line number three, then line number two, and then line number one. Let's go to the second. Line number three or line number two. Which one did you read first, or which one caught your attention? Two. Devyansh says two. Okay, why not three? Three से क्या दुश्मनी है? तीन तिगाड़ा काम बिगाड़ा. So now, can anyone give an example why line number two this time? Although line number three is on the top, position of three is on the top. More bold. Yeah, sure. Very nice. See, because of the weight, we actually called, yeah, it is bold or strong, right? It's giving you a strong feeling, bold feeling. Because of that, it caught your attention. And through that, I made you read line number two first and then line number three. Right? So it was actually the principle of using weight. Due to weight, line number two gets more attention than line number three. Line number two is more visible because of the increase of font weight. Right? Very nice, Khyati. Right? So the second way of creating a visual hierarchy is through increasing the weight, increasing the boldness. Let's go to the third one. Line number two or line number three now. Which one did caught your attention first? Again, number two. Okay. Again, two. Three, to be honest. Okay. Nice show. Two. Divyansh is two. Rita says both. Okay. Okay. Okay, so basic, let me just share you what's happening here for the people who are saying two. So because of the color right over here, right? The color white, it is creating a more contrast, a more difference in the background and the element. Because of that, it's creating a bigger focus on line number two than line number three. And the opacity, basically the opacity of line number three is reduced. That's it, looking kind of faded type of thing. So that's why most of the people actually went with line number two, then line number three. And for Anita and Shub, I'll just love to know why it actually went with the three or two or both actually. You can use your mic still. Usually you can use the chat box. So basically, they created contrast, or we can say that contrast was actually created through opacity. So contrast is nothing the difference between the color. We can say the color difference between the background and the foreground element. So that's why the line number two is more visually, demanding than line number three. So I created again a visual hierarchy for you guys just using the opacity. Let's go with the last example. Again, line number three or line number two, which is taking your attention more. Line number three, Tejas says three, Anita says three, Prakya says three. Okay, Devyansh says three. So three due to the color yellow. Yeah, color yellow. Yellow is very bright color, right? Again, the background is dark and the foreground or the line number three is quite bright, right? Again, the contrast thing is happening, guys. Right? So due to the contrast, the line number three is more visually attracting than line number two. So this is again contrast, but due to color. No doubt, this example was also due to color, right? One can say it was the white color and then the gray color. The competition was between the white and gray color. But basically, what you can also do is reduce the opacity of that color, and it becomes faded. So you can create contrast through opacity or through color. Yellow is one color which is very bright, hence used on cabs, etc. See, this design principle was actually used in the real life. You gave a very great example, right? Very nice show. So that's why, to again, when you are in the traffic, it's very we can say difficult to check which where your cab is, or which car is a cab, right? So that's why they colored, or we can say the old taxis used to have yellow color, so that you can get the attention even if it's from the far. Same is applied in your road signals too. Red, no doubt, red also has, because it's a sign of danger. It gives a feeling of danger, but also because it's a bright color, dark and bright color, so it can be seen from very far, right? See, these design principles are all were not only being used in graphic design, but also in other design, real life industrial designs, right? So here we learned how to create a visual hierarchy using four things. Number one was using the size, second one was through the weight, then was the opacity, and the last was through color contrast. Using these four elements, you can create a visual hierarchy. Let me give you an example how to actually use this in a real life. Suppose you are creating a hiring poster, right? So what would the major heading of that? Maybe we are hiring. That would be the very first thing that you want your readers to read. So I'll use a bold text and increase the size of that text in your poster, right? After that, maybe you want to use an image, right? So I'll use the image, the relevant image, again in should I use a small image or the larger image? Say larger image. Again, I want the person to get the attention of the image, right? So I'll use a bigger image. I'll use the principle of size for creating a hierarchy. Then maybe there's a subheading, or maybe there's another copy that, like, we are looking for enthusiastic people who are willing to give their 100%, and etc., etc. That is not that much important. So I'll just reduce this size and maybe reduce its weight. And then for we can say the CTA, the main action that you want them to take, maybe you want them to call, maybe you want them to mail you, right? So I'll use that text with a very different color, so that it gets attention of the people and they know what to do. So like this, you can use such visual hierarchy. And let's just play a game right over here. I'll show you such kind of posters, and you have to tell me what kind of hierarchy principle is used. You can use such emojis that's written beside that, or you can you can type in that word in the chat box. So if we are talking about this poster, so what's the very first thing that captures your attention? Okay, so Neeraj is saying color, nice. Uh, Neeraj is saying size, very nice. And here you can say the very first thing that's capturing your attention is this image. It has two components actually. right? The very first is the color. The background is pure white, but but the picture is very colorful, the pinkish kind of thing, right? So they're using the color, but they're also using the size. So the two principles can be used at the same time. Now let's talk about this. After that, what the actual thing is, what's the next thing that's grabbing your attention? This graduation, right? And this actually tells us that it's something related to graduation, and it was very important message. I guess it's a poster from, yeah, it's a music poster. It says Kanye West. I know you can't read this properly. Here's the problem that they did. They didn't use a proper contrast here, right? They should use maybe white text. So next they went with a bold font right over here with a larger size. So we can say they use the size and they also use the weight. Move the person to the next piece of information. And then it wasn't important that much, so they used, I guess, good morning champion, stronger I wonder, good life I can't tell me nothing. I'm not sure what's actually this, right? And then there's this parental advisory explicit content. So this is very important. This warning sign, kind of warning sign is very important, so that's why they increase the size. So this was the basic principle of visual hierarchy used here. Now let's go with this. It's a weekend poster, again a music album maybe, or maybe a music concert. So it's the very first thing that grabs your attention. Okay, Shub says, okay, most of the people say it's color, right? Yeah, and also the opacity. Okay, I'm not okay. Let's just see. So the very first thing is the color red, right? Red is very attractive color. It's just grabs the attention very fast. So this color red, worn by Weekend, right? So it's grabbing the attention, and the same is also used here, right? So after, also the second thing is they also use a very bold text and very big size of text. So they use color, they use weight, they use size, right? Three elements in one. You can use as many elements as you want, but see, the color also matches the consistency with the image, right? So then, okay, you first find out, okay, it's a weekend, maybe weekend concert, right? Or weekend music CD. That's the very first information that I want to communicate with the music listeners, right? Okay, after that, which album, which song it says begins after hours. So something related to, maybe it's a song or something. Anyone here heard this after songs, after hour songs or weekend? Any weekend fans right over here? I guess no, there's only AP Dillon. Okay, okay, okay. No, 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 okay. I should be using AP Dillon's poster, right? Now let's just come to this poster. Okay, so Sup says that it was a song. Okay, thank you, Shub. Now let's just talk about this poster. Okay, the very first thing, the image, right? It's a dead or alive poster. So yeah, image is the very first thing that one should recognize. Okay, then they use, see this dead or alive, right? They use size over here, and then a very important message that they wanted to convey, that they wanted him either alive or dead. That's why they emphasized it with the red color. Then they also told us that yeah, he's a thief. Why he's wanted? Because he's a thief. They want to warn people, right? He is a thief. That's why. So the people don't ignore this information. Do you think it will be good for people to ignore that he was a thief? I guess no, right? That will be pretty dangerous. That's why they use the red color to emphasize more on the important thing. Then let's just have it on this poster. So we can say here two things are used. The first one is this image, right? And then like this, are we still friends? So again, the size and weight, both the principles are being used. And can anyone tell me which kind of font is used here? Is it serif, sans serif, is it script, slab script, or display font? Sans serif, display font. Okay, nice, nice. Anyone else? They use bold serif fonts. Sorry, Kathy, are you talking about this one or the previous one? The bold serif font? previous one. It's actually sans serif. Sorry, it's a serif, right? Yeah, it is bold. It might be bold, right? Yeah, it's a serif. The serif reason being it has a extra tails, right? So yeah, but again, we can also say maybe it's a kind of display font. The reason being, as you can see, the lines are not very consistent, right? They're very kind of, we can say, rugged. Also, we can also tell. Yeah, we can also tell that it might be a display font. Okay, so yeah, talking about this, it's actually display font. Well, usually the font are so much curved actually. So yeah, it's actually a display font used right over here. Okay, now this is the last poster that we will be talking about. Tell me, which factor is being used, which visual hierarchy is being used in this poster? Exercise with it. Okay, Nita says it's color. Okay, nice. Color. Divyansh is saying color. Nice. Right. So very first thing that they created is this red color, right? It's just popping out. So yeah, so the very first thing that they wanted to grab the attention is through Jennifer Lawrence picture, right? So that's why they use the background a very light color, and her dress was very kind of, you can say, a bright color to
What?
create a contrast, because you won't be
Website.
attracted by reading the material inside the magazine, but you will be attracted by the person who is actually featured in the magazine. So that's why they use the color very cleverly so that it actually attracts you. Then we can say that they use size, and they went with the vogue, big bold font in big size. Okay, and can anyone tell which kind of font is used by vogue here? Serif, sans serif, display, slab serif, sans serif. It's actually serif. I'm not sure it's actually clearly visible or not, but I guess the C can be visible, right? So it has an extra curve, and these U, E also have, see these extra ears and foot. So that's why it will actually come in serif forms. So they came with the brown color again to contrast with the background. So that's how your actual designs are created. Very first thing is your color, your size, your weight that come under your visual hierarchy, and then also the fonts, right? If we're talking about the Vogue, so Vogue is very reputed company, right, or magazine. That's why they're using serif fonts to build their authority. That's why such brands who are using, like Louis Vuitton also, right? They also use serif fonts. So these were the two factors that we learned right now. One was about the fonts, and second was with the visual hierarchy. Now let's talk about white space. And before getting into it, let me just tell you a disclaimer. White space is not related to color white. Okay, so white space is not related to color white, but actually the empty space around your main object, and it is very crucial. Let me just tell you by giving an example. This is one website, right? Looking at it, I guess it's related to tech. There are many things to laptops, something related to Tiger Direct esports, right? And then there is this website. Based on both websites, which one do you think looks better? Aesthetically, readability is also good. The first one or the second one? This one or this one? Which one is more better? The second one. Khyati says second. Anita saying second. Divyansh says second. Shubh says first. Dipti says first. Okay. Okay. Shubh, Dipti, any reason for going with the first one?
Pete juga.
Better
Mungkin
white space
agak
in the first.
Bandung ya.
White space. You're saying the white space in the first is better. Okay. 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 Let me just tell you again. What's actually the white space? White
What?
space is the empty area around your
Tadi ini
elements.
Sabtu.
If I'm talking here, there are many things that's going on right over here. To be honest, here the visual hierarchy is just messed up. I don't know what to actually see first. Whether this poster, right? Whether uh, this laptop or this laptop, which one? If
हाँ
we're talking about this, I get a very clear, example that okay, there are two pictures. They are talking about them. Both have mask.
ज्यादा
Mask and
गिरेगा
style
तो
both together. These are the only two things that actually grabbing my attention. I know there are many things actually it's the design, but if you're talking about the website, so this is the very first fold,
हाँ
only this one
बस
that you'll
उसका ही
see.
वही वही रहे तो
इस
ठीक
करके
है
I guess this one is much better. In the first website, there's no white space, and I think it will confuse the user which element will grab their attention first. Yeah, Kathy told it very beautifully, right? They don't understand what to actually read
हम्म
first, and it will actually confuse them. And to be honest, a person like me, I'll just close it within 3 seconds. I don't want to be here. It looks too spammy, right? Okay, should be saying the second one seems very congested as there are a lot of elements. Okay, maybe it seems too because two designs are placed simultaneously. But what I wanted to say is just focusing on this part, right? Uh, Second is blue one. I thought, okay. No, this is the first one. But yeah, I guess you get a very pretty much good idea, right? If you're talking about the Apple website is very clear cut. They show their product. They have one heading, the second heading. That's all. Importance of white space is very important. It makes your design look professional and clean, right? Let me give you an example. दो चीजें होती है. One is your junkyard, let's say, or your garage. Second is a museum, right? Well reputed museum. Both have old things. Yes or no? दोनों में पुरानी चीजें होती है, right? But जंकयार्ड में क्या है, कुछ भी इधर उधर पड़ा हुआ है, या गराज में कुछ भी यहाँ वहां पड़ा हुआ है, कोई सिस्टम नहीं है मोस्टली. ठीक है, मोस्टली ऐसा होता है. वेयर एज टॉकिंग अबाउट द म्यूजियम, well reputed museum, right? They just have one object and everything beside that would be empty. Yeah, if you haven't visited museum, but I guess you might have seen that in the movies, right? White wall, right? Beach में एक art piece. That's all. Importance of that is because they only want you to see or watch or observe only that particular thing. You actually see, grab what it actually wanted to say, and you appreciate that beauty. You are not distracted by anything else. That's how white space is important. You don't want to say many things at once, just few things, and you want to be clear. Let's just take live example of Apple website. Apple has launched iPhone 15. बाय द वे, किसी ने एप्पल आईफोन 15 ले लिया हो ऑलरेडी, या प्लानिंग में हो लेने के? Any rich guy, rich gal right over here? Let me just share my screen once again, and let's just see the live example of Apple website. iPhone 15, that's it. बस यही है इनकी स्क्रीन पे अभी के लिए, और कुछ नहीं है. I scroll down, what I see the price. ठीक है, scroll little more, I get the highlights, the actual highlights, what are the actual specification of this iPhone. Very minimal, right? Just one image, one text, that's it. And one, of course, buttons, right? One might, say that yeah, it actually looks good. You don't want to, clutter your design with everything. जिससे यार खाली लग रहा है, just भर देते हैं वहाँ पे, right? If you put too many things, it'll just look clutter. It won't give a right communication. Again, right communication. Let me give you a very live example. हम सब ने मनी हाइस्ट देखी होगी, मे बी सूट्स, all might have seen. Professor, right? Professor was one of the favorite character of everyone? I guess yes or no? Nita say yes. I'm saying yes. Okay, I was also a fan. Anyone else? Yes, bro. Okay. Why actually? And one thing that you might have observed of professor, he doesn't, ramble many things. ज़्यादा नहीं बोलता है. He will only speak thing that is actually needed for that moment of time. Yes or no? And that's why we actually respected him. Whatever he said, it was clear cut to the point. That's it. कोई फालतू फालतू की बात नहीं. Same is actually happening in design too. You're only telling what you want to communicate. कोई आलतू फालतू की चीज नहीं. One thing at a time. That's all. Same principle is being applied by Apple, and Apple design is valued everywhere, right? That's the reason. Giving importance to your white space is very, very, very crucial in your design. And being a very beginner, right? होता है यार बहुत खाली खाली सा लग रहा है. It might not look good, but you have to eliminate that fear, we can say, of getting यहाँ यार खाली खाली लग रहा है. If you're talking about this, so it's actually a collab between Nike and Stranger Things. So what they did, just simple, shoe right over here, and उसके ऊपर fear is a bad motivator. And for the fear, they showed this red color in the background, this baby means kind of very cluttered background, sorry, background behind that, just to give that kind of feel. Again, bold, bold text, bigger, color is white, the background is black, just to make your focus on the text. Then the image of the shoe is bigger, make your focus towards the shoe. That's it, nothing else. You might say कि हाँ नीचे भी कुछ है, but very less people will be reading. मैं भी नहीं पढ़ता, ठीक है? I guess this is much more enough to tell you what this is actually about. This is how important your white space is in your design. You might still see कि यहाँ पे खाली है, kind of खाली है. उन्होंने elements डाल रखे, but it's looking kind of empty, right? That's the point. So that your only attention goes to the text, your only attention goes to the shoes. So these are the very important three things that we discussed. Once the very first one was the font. किस तरह के fonts use करने चाहिए? Whether it's slab serif, sans serif, serif. When to use that? What kind of feeling they communicate? Next thing is your visual hierarchy. What thing to tell first through using your color, size, weight, contrast. Then it was white space. The importance of using empty space actually. White space again is not important that the color should be white, but it should be empty. The elements, we can say the surrounding should be empty. Now, my personal three C's of very good designs. Very first thing is the contrast. Contrast हमने पहले पढ़ रखा है. Contrast is nothing but a difference between the two colors. The greater the difference, the better the contrast. Let me tell you a story once that I had. So once I was roaming in sector 17 of Chandigarh. So if you're not familiar with that, so you can say it's a very posh kind of market. So all these premium brands, Louis Vuitton, you can say Peter England. So they have their showroom right over there, and the kind of crowd that you might see is that high end, high class people. So I was just roaming there. I was actually waiting for my laptop to be repaired. एक दो घंटे का time था. I don't want to sit in that shop and spend my time. So I just went over there. I was looking that yeah, people were actually very very fashionable kind of thing, fashionable dresses. I just sat there. I observed everyone, not stalked. I observed, right, and I saw something that good brands what they do is they create a contrast in your whole dress up. Maybe if your shirt is light color, right, then your trouser it might be of darker contrast. So contrast is a very important thing to highlight the important stuff. So that's why again in the design too, if you want to highlight something important as we've seen in the visual hierarchy, contrast is very important. If your contrast is not right, the thing will not pop up, and you might miss up the important info. Like there's also a text written three C's of good design, but I don't want you to focus right over here. I only want to focus your attention on the point, that is contrast. So that's why I have given it a brighter color. This was the very first C. Second is consistency. If you are using one kind of font, make sure to use that font in every creative of that brand, or maybe that series of creative that you're creating, right? Maintain a consistency. If you're maintaining a consistency, it is actually telling that it is actually kind of building a trust between you and your audience. नहीं ऐसा नहीं कि अभी आप कुछ और बोल रहे हो, जस्ट सिंपली कम्युनिकेशन में हम बोले तो इट्स नॉट लाइक कि अभी आप कुछ और बोल रहे हो उस टाइम और दूसरे पल आप कुछ और बोल रहे हो. It's actually giving. One time I'm using slab serif, the other time I'm using sans serif. तो लगेगा यार ये क्या बोलना चाह रहा है, communication सही नहीं हो पा रही. Same goes with the design. So maintaining consistency is very important. If you are using left aligned text, make sure to use left aligned text everywhere on that particular design, of course. This was the second C. And last is the concept. Whatever concept you want to communicate. Again, we had that example, right? The teacher tore up that whole design because not was actually communicating the right concept that you wanted to communicate. Giving the importance of concept is very important. So these are the three C's that I actually use in every design. If you want to judge my design every time, say okay, consistency है, contrast है, concept से match कर रही है, it is pretty good to go. बाकी आपकी बात है. So study, keeping note of these three C's is very important. I guess these three things I've taken it from Christo. Again, if you're not seen Christo, search future, and it's very important, right? The future, the gold mine of creative videos, not only creative but also for the business point of view also. So one more story time for you guys. So एक बारी क्या हुआ? Okay, giving a background. I'm a JE IIT JE aspirant. So one time we were having a class with micro and macro physics. So micro physics is nothing. Macro physics is something that we see in the daily life. Car चल रही है, ball रुक गई, the train stopped when the brake is applied. That's the classical physics. And then this quantum physics. Quantum is the movement of your atoms. And let me be honest, guys, it's very absurd. The things that you've learned in the real world does not apply in the quantum. If you think the atom is here, it's never here. You might see, but the position is never here. And you might think, what difference है दोनों में? सुनने में लग रहा है. But same, the same was also thought by the great scientists too. But when they actually studied that, they actually found the quantum mechanics is actually the base of our classical mechanics. Both are actually equal, and classical mechanics is nothing but special case of micro physics, we can say. And उस टाइम सर ने एक बात बोली थी, जो माइक्रो है वही मैक्रो है. And it actually struck me. Two things. First, the absurdness of quantum and real physics being the same. Second thing, सुनने में बहुत अच्छा लग रहा था, मैक्रो है माइक्रो है. So it actually stuck with me, and कहीं ना कहीं I still take it this lesson in my entire life. Why I'm telling you this is because these elements, these design fundamentals that you learned is applicable in everywhere. Okay? These fundamentals are applicable in everywhere, right? So next comes design secrets. But before going into it, किसी को कोई doubt, किसी को issue? Anyone have questions? No. Okay. Anita says no. Anyone else? Good going. Thank you, Anita. Anyone else? No, sir. Okay. So let's go with the design secrets. Some very specific secrets that we designers know and we apply. What one liner, two liners है, but इनका important, बहुत important, importance. First is alignment. There are many kind of alignments. Basically we have seen this alignment when you're using MS Word, right? left alignment, right alignment, center alignment, justify. So anytime you are going with design, you're writing a very big text, right? I'll suggest always go with the left alignment. The reason being, we using English language, using Hindi language, always write from left to right, right? Our page margin was like this, and we'll start from the very next to the margin, right? So that's the very we can say a subconscious thing that our mind, our brain has picked up. So kabhi bhi, if you're writing a long text, paragraph type, don't go with the left alignment, don't go with the center alignment, just go with the left alignment. Let's just take a real life example, and let me tell you what we are actually trying to achieve by that. Suppose we have this huge chunk of text. So if I'm keeping it left aligned, right? So there are high chances that you might not ignore but read. But as soon as I keep its center line, it will be difficult for your brain to read. You might say, कि हाँ शशांक नहीं यार मैं पढ़ सकता हूँ. Yeah, I can still read. No doubt you can read, you will read. But if this same thing is applied on any design, you might ignore that because your brain will say, yeah, this is not familiar to what I usually see. So I'm not interested in seeing that. This was regarding alignment. But I'm not saying don't use center alignment. If there is very little text, one liner, two liner, just go with that. There's no issue with that. But जहाँ पे बड़ा chunk हो, please avoid that. Second thing is widow and orphan. This one is my favorite. Widow and orphan. And let me tell you what is actually a widow. For example, let me just first uh, left align and let's just go with this. Okay, let's just only focus on this part, the very first one. Let me just zoom in for you guys. You are reading this, right? And in the very end, there's only one letter left in the last line. This one. And to be honest, it's very frustrating, right? This is actually called widow. Widow is a letter, sorry, a word that is left from the whole paragraph. Only one letter in the last line, one word in the last line. So it's actually called widow. So always try to avoid that. How you can avoid this? Resize your paragraph. You might be able to remove that. And what's orphan? Orphan is nothing but orphan is very rarely seen. It's the only one word of the very first paragraph. You might not ever see that, but yeah, that's actually called orphan. And what's the widow? Widow is only the last word that is left in the paragraph, in the last line. So please avoid that. Okay? Avoid using right alignment for big text, avoid using center alignment for big text, and avoid using orphan and widow. It's actually frustrating. Of course, sometimes it might be that you might not be able to eliminate the widow. That's totally fine. Okay, no issues regarding that. But yeah, whenever possible, just don't let widow there. Right. Second is text and sorry. Second is text and paragraph. So text का basically ये था. Whenever you have a large set of paragraph, right? And if I extend it to the very end, because a लंबा सा paragraph रखा है, chances are that you might not read it and ignore it. Why? Lot of work क्या to read this. Guys, यहाँ से लेके वहां तक आगे जाना very hard. Let me give you a like example. You are reading a book, ठीक है? And book में यहाँ से लेके end तक पूरा sentence and you think by your finger. You have to use your hand actually to move from one point to the very end. वहीं if I shorten it to this much, okay, I just reduce the width of the text to very half of the page, right? And you might have seen this is how the textbooks that you have read was actually designed. It's very easy because now you have to only move your finger like this. That's all. There you had to move your whole hand. Same goes with your eyes. If the text is very large in width, you have your eye movement has to be very, 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 more. But if very short, your eye movement is very easy and you might actually read. Now again, these are subconscious things that actually your mind does without telling you. We have to make sure of these things. If you want to make sure, if you want to make your text look less and easily readable, reduces length. And basically, we can say some industry standard that I use is use 60, don't use more than 60 to 80 characters in one line. If it's going more than that, by characters I mean this individual letters, individual symbols. If more than 60 to 80, it's too much to read. Move it to the next line. Yeah, people will ignore your message, ignore your text. No use of that. Next is avoid using all caps. So if you're having again, long tests, if you're using all caps, it's much difficult for your brain to read. The reason being, all are of the same hair, same height, same base. So it's very difficult for your brain to distinguish between each letter, and your brain has to do much, much, much hard work to read and recognize each letter. So avoid all text if the sentence is very long. It's one or two words, three words, totally fine. Just go with it. But it's a long sentence, don't go with all caps. Last, familiarity. Familiarity by I mean whatever you are designing, design according to what you've actually seen. Again, very good example is that don't reinvent a wheel. Wheel was always a round, हमेशा round है, round ही चलेगा. If you're trying to make it square, नहीं चलेगा, right? So again, what is actually familiar to us, design according to that. Observe the things, how things are actually happening in the natural world, in the natural design process, and try to replicate that in your design. Okay, because seeing something familiar, your mind says, okay, I've seen this, it will be easy for me, I'll just read it, I'll just go through it. It's not that much difficult. That's why familiarity is very, very, very important. So we observe some secrets. Alignment, use most of the alignment for a text. Widow and orphan, ignore, just try to eliminate them. Text and paragraph, use shorter length of your paragraph, your text. Caps, avoid all caps in your, if your paragraph is too long. In familiarity, just go with familiar things, familiar designs. So these were all the major design fundamentals that I had learned and wanted to share with you all. And so anyone has any doubt, any question, any query, please raise your hand in the chat box. Just feel free. And by the time, let me just tell you what's a Fueler membership. Again, I have already told you what's a Fueler. So again, let me just reintroduce you. So Fueler is basically a platform, just like a GitHub, just like a Behance, but for generalists, for everyone. GitHub is only for the developers, Behance is only for the designers, but Fueler is a portfolio website of your own, no matter which field you are. If you are a marketer, if you are a designer, maybe you're a content writer, maybe you're all of them, you can still use Fueler to create your web page, your profile, and showcase your work. Because at the end of the day, if you're not showing your work, you won't know that you actually exist. The talent that you have actually exists. Fueler is a very beautiful platform to showcase your work free. They don't charge, the basic the basic Fueler is free. If you want to go with the pro, you can always go with the pro. The pro thing is that you can create unlimited of custom portfolios. Custom portfolios, as you can see, designs related to UI UX, graphic design, 3D. But if I want to group these design and send to my prospectors or client, right? I can just create a custom portfolio of this website that will only contain my 3D design. I'll just send it to them. And there is also something called Fueler membership. So if you're someone like me who want to get into deep, deep, deep insights, right, of any, whether it's a design, whether it's marketing, email marketing, if you into growth and stuff, then I'll suggest you to join Fueler membership. And it's a private community actually, and you get many, many, many advantages for that. So Fueler membership, you get the Fueler Pro, the pro feature of all these, all the portfolio that you create in the Fueler. Then you get the access to the private community where the OG retain himself teaches you all these skills, not only design but of the marketing, email marketing, networking, and many more things. And you also have access to uh, proof of officers. If you have created something, right, you have created this portfolio, they will privately guide you that how you can create it better. We have access to a opportunity that's related to your domain. Yeah, I guess, yeah, it's of 2500 at an year. That's one time payment for an year. If you want to go for it, just let me know. I can give you a referral code and it will be much cheaper than that. And yeah, I guess that's it. So this was it, ladies and gentlemen. Any question, anything that you want to share, that you want to ask? Thank you, Pragya. Can you suggest some sites for making portfolio websites for designer? What things we should keep in mind when designing portfolio? Very nice question, Khyati. So, okay, so for creating a portfolio website, is serious about creating a portfolio just like a website. I'll suggest Wix, going with the Wix, going with the Webflow, or going with the Framer. These are the three. Framer is quite easy if you're working on Figma. But if you want to just showcase your work, right, very quickly, very efficiently, IES Fuller is one such platform, right? You can just easily add your work. Let me just show you a live example. Just click on the publish your work. It will ask you to add the title, add the image, add the description, and add the link of your work. Whether it's in Google Drive, whether it's in Spline 3D, whether it's in Figma, anything, right? You can just simply publish that, very easy. But yeah, if you want to create a whole custom portfolio of yourself, I'll say you can go with Framer, Webflow, Wix. That's easy, no code, right? This is a simple, very simple interface. Just put on the description, your title, link, everything, and just push. The portfolio is done. And coming to the second question, what things you should keep while designing a portfolio? See, your portfolio is nothing but a reflection of yourself. Again, you are communicating who you actually are. So I'll say, know yourself, know your personality, know your voice, and design according to that. For example, if you're kind of rebellious, not rebellious, but someone who actually like to go with the ideas out of the box. Right? So you can go with a very creative kind of fonts. You can use display fonts for all the headings that you're using. But if you're kind of person, you can say very minimalistic, very sophisticated, right? So then you can go with a very minimalistic design like this. So this was a design for, according to me, it was for a person who was, kind of rebellious, who always like to challenge what's actually, you can say, actually practice in the design. So for that, I just use this kind of imagery, very bold, big image with this kind of font, and using a very rugged kind of, background. Then again, going with a bold, big font just to give that kind of feel. So I'll always suggest people to understand your personality first, and then add accordingly the things, the elements in your portfolio. And if you're talking about section, so please add a hero section, of course, right? Then your work, the services, your experience, and I also tell people to add something more about yourself. Maybe kind of books that you like to read, kind of events, kind of activities that you like to do. Because at the end of the day, that person actually wants to work with you. So you have to communicate what kind of person you are to work with, right? So that's my philosophy with talking about portfolios. Yeah, you can also use software, as Pragya said, right, for creating a personal portfolio website. And Notion also. Many people use Notion too. Any more questions? Anyone? Hi. Okay, amazing session. Thank you, Neeraj. Thank you for being in this session. Means a lot. Okay, so anything else? Anyone want to a great second? Thank you, Dipti. So this insight was it was an amazing session. Thank you, Yati. Thank you, Shobh. Yes, let's wrap it up. Hope you learned something new from these all, and I hope you will be using these all fundamentals in your future proof of work, future designs. Well, let's wrap it up then. Screenshot लेना. Okay, guys. So if you're comfortable with, so please turn on your camera. Screenshot ले लेते हैं. Before going. Okay. So once again, thank you everyone. Thank you for joining, and hope you do well in design. And if you want to connect with me, just in case, let me share you my LinkedIn ID and also my Fielder ID if you want to connect with me to any other means. And in case you're not part of, just in case you're not part of Fueler community, I'm also sharing the link of that. It's a community of people from all around the profession, right? Maybe you're a student, maybe you're a designer, marketer, everyone. It's a very rich and diverse community, and people that there are just awesome to interact with, to work with, to learn from. So do join it. They also have very specific communities based on your interest, and also very common community as we are Fueler. Thank you guys once again very much. I'm glad that you all were here. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.